Convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was discovered dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan.
Surveillance video showing a glimpse of what may be a person in orange near Epstein's cell.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Jeffrey Epstein could still be alive.
The official account of Jeffrey Epstein's death has stood for more than 6 years. The medical examiner's ruling of suicide by hanging has not been formally overturned. The criminal charges against the 2 guards assigned to watch him were dropped. However, the documents released under the Epstein Files Transparency Act have shed new light on the strange circumstances surrounding the sex predator's death, including the question, is he really dead? On the morning of August 10, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found unresponsive in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan. He was pronounced dead at New York Presbyterian Lower Manhattan Hospital. The New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiner officially ruled his death a suicide by hanging. 1 month earlier, on July 6, Epstein was arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey after stepping off his private jet from Paris. Federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York charged him with 1 count of sex trafficking of minors and 1 count of conspiracy to commit sex trafficking, offenses carrying up to 45 years in prison. The indictment alleged that Epstein had sexually abused dozens of girls at his Manhattan townhouse in Palm Beach estate over a period of years. He pleaded not guilty. He was denied bail and remanded to the Metropolitan Correctional Center, where he was placed in the special housing unit under suicide watch. Less than 3 weeks into his pretrial detention, guards found Epstein unresponsive on the floor of his cell with marks on his neck. The report revealed he was
lying in the fetal position on the floor with a homemade fashioned noose around his neck.
Epstein was photographed, medically examined, and determined to have stained a red circular line at the base of the neck and friction marks on the front of neck.
The roommate called to the guards and he said he sees Epstein and he was snoring and then he was kind of slumped over, but also with his eyes open. Discussion by staff in the reports that have just been revealed said that as he was being placed on the stretcher by responding staff, he would open his eyes and observe staff. When staff made eye contact with him, he would hurriedly shut his eyes.
If you were going to stage something this monumental and also try and get out while this is happening, then you want a trial run. You want to see, like you said, where you go, who gets involved, who gets called. On August 8th, 2019, while held in a federal detention facility awaiting trial, Jeffrey Epstein signed a brand new last will and testament. It was witnessed by 2 private attorneys and placed his entire estate, valued at over $577 million, into a newly created private trust called the 1953 Trust, named for the year of his birth. The trust was created the same day the will was signed. By routing his assets through a private trust, rather than leaving them in an ordinary estate, Epstein effectively shielded the identities of his beneficiaries from public view. MCC officials did not learn the will had been signed until after Epstein was found dead. The timing stunned legal experts. Attorney Jennifer Freeman, who represents child sex abuse victims, said in an interview with The Guardian,
"This is the last act of Epstein's manipulation of the system, even in death."
Attorney Lisa Bloom, representing multiple Epstein accusers, called it
gross negligence
on the part of Epstein's lawyers and jail personnel to allow him to sign a will at all, given that he had been found unresponsive in his cell just weeks earlier, calling the signing
a classic sign of impending suicide for a prisoner. And that's a good point. As an attorney, before someone signs their last will and testament, you got to make sure they're of sound legal mind and making good choices. And if somebody's like on suicide watch or just was found with a rope around their neck and is facing down like a huge life sentence, he's very powerful. And if you say no, he's probably just going to hire someone else. But certainly an ethical question for those attorneys. But they're the ones that were in the room with him to say, no, he was fine. He was totally fine.
On the evening of August 9th, around 7 p.m., records show Epstein was provided a social call by the institution duty officer. This call was done on an unmonitored line. Files in the 2026 release confirmed the call's recipient was Karina Shuliak, a 36-year-old Belarusian national who had been in a relationship with Epstein for years. Shuliak stood to inherit $50 million, the Caribbean islands, Zora Ranch, the New York City townhouse, a Paris apartment, and a near 33-carat diamond ring, quote, given in contemplation of marriage. That's 5 times what Ghislaine Maxwell was set to receive. The BOP's Northeast Regional Director later told investigators,
"We don't know what happened on that phone. It could have potentially led to the incident, but we will never know."
That same evening, Correctional Officer Tova Noel began what would become a double shift at the MCC. She and her colleague, Michael Thomas, were the 2 guards assigned to monitor Epstein and the other inmates in the special housing unit that night. Protocol required them to conduct welfare checks every 30 minutes throughout the shift. They did not. Earlier that evening, Epstein's cellmate had been transferred out of the SHU and was not replaced. Direct violation of a July 30th BOP directive requiring Epstein to be housed with a cellmate at all times. According to FBI forensic records and the DOJ Inspector General's findings, Noel spent portions of the night browsing furniture online. Thomas was browsing motorcycle listings. The OIG further found that both guards fell asleep at their desk for approximately 3 hours. Between the 2 of them, welfare checks on Epstein went unperformed for what investigators would later describe as
a number of hours.
Both guards subsequently falsified prison log entries to record checks that never occurred. At approximately 10:39 to 10:41 p.m., a surveillance camera, the only one of 11 in the special housing unit that was actually functioning, captured an orange-colored figure ascending the staircase toward Epstein's locked housing tier. This was the last time any person was seen approaching the SHU entrance before Epstein's body was discovered the following morning.
And per the Office of Inspector General report, the 2 cameras directly in front of his cell malfunctioned.
Isn't that so weird?
It's crazy. And the other footage they said was unusable. So,
Yeah.
man, either we are so desperately inept as a country, or somebody went and took some cameras offline, you know?
The day before Epstein's body was discovered, a press release was drafted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York announcing Epstein's death. A comparison of these drafts against the final announcement published on August 10th reveals one notable difference. Neither of the August 9th drafts contain the phrase,
"From an apparent suicide."
"What?"
Yeah, I
The
mean,
day before you're drafting stuff? How would you know when to draft something?
it's weird to me, certainly.
The DOJ's official position is that the August 9th date is
An unfortunate typo.
and that such drafts are routinely repaired in advance for high-profile detainees. Forensic experts consulted by CBS News described the handling of the death scene as fundamentally compromised. Items moved before investigators arrived, evidence not photographed in place. One expert was unsparing.
It almost appears to me that whoever was investigating this just took it at face value that it was a suicide with no foul play whatsoever. But in a situation as high profile as this, I would always, as an investigator, consider that there might be foul play.
In November 2019, Tova Noel and Michael Thomas were federally indicted on charges of falsifying prison records and making false statements. The charges were dropped in December 2021, but only after both guards entered deferred prosecution agreements, formally admitted to falsifying records, and completed 100 hours of community service in cooperation with the DOJ investigation. While Noel's charges have been dropped, newly released files show that Chase Bank filed a suspicious activity report with the FBI in November of 2019, around the time of Noel's indictment, flagging an unusual pattern of cash deposits in Noel's account. According to records in the DOJ files, 12 deposits began in April of 2018 and culminated in the largest, $5,000 in cash on July 30th, 2019, exactly 10 days before Epstein's death. She was not asked about any of this during her DOJ interview. She did, however, offer this defense.
I've never worked in the special housing unit and actually done rounds every 30 minutes.
As of this recording, no one has been prosecuted in connection with Epstein's death.
If you enjoyed this, you'll love our full podcast episodes. You can find the full episode linked in the description below. YouTube thinks you'll love this one next, and if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button so you never miss a new clip.